run for us now. So I'm going to start a new project. Schematic by design. I'll go with a standard code analysis. I'm just going to make everything pretty much standard. Here we've got our who's creating the document and who's going to sign it off. Those are all important things. And where do you find the sign off? So that's always by a licensed mechanical engineer or architect. I will make this kind of maybe a T shape. That sounds good. Standard roof, standard walls, standard ground floor, standard ceilings, standard floors, standard doors, standard windows, no shades, standard distribution of how the building is split up, and standard lighting and task and plug load. So that's all power. And then in the unoccupied time, we're not using anything. This says when the place is open, so you can calculate that. And I've got DX coils and a furnace, so that's how I'm gonna cool and heat. Standard temperatures that I'm using, kind of standard low actually efficiencies on these things. And same with the the pressure of the fans. And when the fans are on or normal. So everything's pretty much normal. Let's see what happens here. It's processing. And there's my building. And that's what it looks like. And you can see there's a door, there's windows, and it's T-shaped, and the T is facing the north direction like we saw. And so now what we're going to do, I'm going to go back to the 2D geometry. I'm going to simulate building performance and just find out how much energy it's using. And I see that it's using 209,000 kilowatt hours and 61 million BTUs of gas. So I get to find that information out. I see that the area lighting looks like about maybe a third or a quarter. Miscellaneous equipment, that's all those task lightings and plug lightings, maybe about half. And I see space cooling is substantial in some of the times. Now I think this is set for Los Angeles, so that'll be okay. And then space heating isn't very much at all. So now what I want to do is see if this complies with Title 24. So I've got a design. I have to see if it meets code. So I'm checking my rule sets to the Title 24 code, and it says there's a little bit of a problem with how one of the hot water loop is set up. So I'll just let it kind of fix that. And now it's doing the building description, and it's going through, it's looking at the rule list for every hour of every day. It's doing the same thing now for description, and now it's doing the HVAC, and then it's going to doing the annual simulation of performance. Now it's going to do the budget numbers. And these are literally millions of calculations happening now. And lo and behold, I get a compliance analysis that says, oh, I do not meet Title 24. Let's see where it says. I need to bring that down here where I can see it. So it says down here, oh, I'm off, mostly in my space cooling and in my fans. My space heating doesn't seem to be making much difference, but my space cooling sure does, and the indoor fans, and it doesn't comply. So I might have to make up some ground. That has to get to 0 or above. It has to be positive. Well, now that I've seen all that, I can make some adjustments. And normally I'd be calculating, or I'd be looking at these adjustments, but I saw right off the bat that the cooling was a big deal. So I'm going to go back to my cooling, and I see that that's not very efficient. I can go up as high as 16 for a good sized commercial unit. So let me put it at 14.5 and see what happens. And I saw my heating didn't really make much of a difference, but I'll bump that up a little bit too. I'll put in a little bit better heating unit. But that wasn't giving me a big part of the problem. So let's see if by doing that, I can make a significant difference in the energy and get this thing to comply. So now I'll go ahead and do another quick performance. And you don't have to do this. I just want you to see how it works. So now I'm down to 192,000 kilowatt hours. And you can see that this is still looking pretty big. My space cooling is looking pretty big. I think I'm going to have to take care of lighting and equipment next. It looks like it's causing the most problems for me if that's the issue. The green, miscellaneous equipment, and the area lighting seem to be the two biggest components left that I have to deal with. But let's see what's happening. Let's see how far off I am. So it's doing all of its calculations again. And this is just an iterative process that you go through to help you understand how this building is going to work and what you have to do in the design to make sure that it's going to work and it's going to comply with our energy code. And you can imagine how useful this is to do this at the very beginning of a project rather than at the end of the project after it's already built and you're not allowed to occupy it because it's not meeting the performance criteria set forth in Title 24 Cal Green Building Analysis and Performance. So it still does not meet, but I've done as much as I can do with that portion of it. Let's see how far off I am. Well, I made it a long way just by doing that. Okay, so I can do something with my indoor fans, maybe. But then I saw that my task lighting could be improved, maybe, as could my area lighting, my miscellaneous equipment, and my area lighting. So I'll close this up again, and I'll go back, and I'll make a few more changes if I can. So lighting is in my activity areas loads. So you can see here I've got two types of lighting, and I'm using 1.1 watts per square foot. And this is an old spec, so these were probably fluorescent or incandescent, and I know that LEDs are significantly less. So let me change that. I can go easily at 75% of that, which I'm going to call 0.75. And the other one that looks big is the lobby, although that's the big one right there because it's 70% of the area. The next one that has 10% of the area that might do a little bit would be the corridor. So let me take that down. 75%, 0.6 is about 0.42. So I'll make those changes. And my plug loads, that was the other one, miscellaneous plug loads. And that's per square foot. So I want to do it where there's a lot of area. And so I can use Energy Star equipment and just make sure. So let me do that as a 75% of that again, which will be about 1.1. So that's going to take care of a lot of loads. So now let me see if I can take care of that fan thing. I'm not really sure where I take care of that fan. Here it is, 1.25 inches. Okay, so maybe what I can do is go with a premium and maybe take that down to that's a high pressure system that it's blowing around there. So, and I've got a 1.15 safety factor, but that's pretty standard. And that's pretty standard. So I don't think I'm going to do much more than this and go to a higher efficiency motor. I hate to play around with the actual pressures and things like that if I can help it, because then I have to rebalance the system and do a lot more work. So let's simulate the building again. Perform my analysis of compliance. So you see, though, we're going to have taken maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll really locked in on some things. We'll know that the building's shape and its orientation and the amount of windows are fine. We'll know that we need to specify a certain efficiency on the mechanical components. They call that the HVAC is the mechanical components. We know that we're going to have to specify a certain motor efficiency for the fans, and that we're going to have to probably specify Energy Star rated lighting and equipment in the place. And we'll see, this may not be enough. This may not get us to where we need to go, but it's going to tell. The preliminary design does meet Title 24. So let's take a look really quickly and see. Now this preliminary report would be turned in to the Planning Commission with your submittal of your drawings for this building, so that they would know that they can approve the construction of this building. And not only did we beat it fairly substantially, not by percentage-wise a huge amount, but not bad. And so this would be a good baseline for running our calculations for this building. And in the planning report, we would have to tell them how we met this. That would be, this is like a performance specification. And we would have to say how we're going to meet the performance specification. And then we'd turn this in, and hopefully these people would put their stamp on it. Okay, so there we go. That's how we do an energy analysis. That's where those numbers came from, where instead of changing all of the energy situations, I changed roof materials for your portfolio. Okay, there you go.